It's popular in coaching today to say that you encourage your players to make mistakes in practice. And so one of the ways that we differentiate practice and games, and we see practice as more of the learning environment, is because there isn't the pressure of wins and losses. So in games, there's the performance pressure. In practices, we look at it as a learning environment that lacks the performance pressures of the scoreboard, the fans in the stands, maybe even the parents watching the games or significant others or whatever the case may be. And so for that reason, we look at practices as the time where we can learn, where we can get outside of our comfort zone, where we can develop new skills, improve, try new things, experiment, explore, and all of these things that we like to discuss. However, I think saying that we encourage mistakes in practice is just the first step, and that we need to actually go further if we want players to really embrace that mentality. So again, we look at the difference between the performance environment and the learning environment simply because of the scoreboard or the win-loss record and so forth. However, a practice environment can take on parts of a performance environment because of the social pressures involved. So if you're constantly fighting for playing time, or you're just trying to make the team, or you're trying to earn a spot in a rotation, let's say. These are all different social pressures that can affect a player's practice habits and affect the player's learning. So if the coach rewards the players who make fewer mistakes in practice with playing time in games, regardless of what you're saying in terms of encouraging mistakes, that's sending a clear message in terms of playing time that making mistakes is bad. And so you can talk all you want about encouraging mistakes and getting outside of a comfort zone, etc., but if the players who make fewer mistakes in practice play more minutes in games, that's the message the players are going to see, that's the message the players are going to understand, and that's the way that players are going to attempt to practice. And therefore, if they're trying to make fewer mistakes in practice, they're going to stick with what they're already competent doing, and therefore they're not expanding their skills, they're not exploring, they're not learning. So I think rather than looking just at encouraging mistakes, we have to see how we're rewarding those behaviors. So if I'm really taking risks in practice, are those risks rewarded? How are they rewarded? So I see players in practice, I've seen this before. So a player goes in practice and throws an around the back pass to a teammate. Whether it's completed or not, coach will often, that's not what we want. Well, this is a player who's now taking a risk. They're trying to do something new. They're trying to find a new solution to the movement problem. Maybe they executed it correctly. Maybe they didn't. But regardless, the coach is saying, no, that's not what we want. So you're telling players, you're encouraging, we want you to make mistakes. We want you out of your comfort zone. But, yeah, you went too far. All right, so how are you going to get that player to take a risk the next time when she or he did take a risk? You told them that that's not the risk that you're looking for. So what kind of risk, how do you want them to get outside their comfort zone? And again, how are these behaviors then rewarded? So if your post player shoots a three-pointer in practice and you tell them, no, you're not a three-point shooter, well, again, that player's trying to do something new. They're trying to extend their range, explore, get outside their comfort zone, and now you're telling them, no, that's not what you do. So the message that you're saying, to sound great and sound like a progressive coach, that you're encouraging mistakes, but you're not really. You're kind of only encouraging some mistakes, maybe in drills, or you're encouraging mistakes by some players but not others. And so the message is conflicted. So again, if we really want to encourage this type of behavior, that we want players to expand their skills, we want them to learn, improve, try new things, it isn't just enough to tell them at the beginning of practice, hey, we encourage you to make mistakes, or we want you to make mistakes. We don't want you to be scared to make mistakes. Instead, we need to reward those behaviors, whether it's rewarded with playing time or you find another creative way to reward players who are willing to take these risks and willing to engage in these new behaviors. Because if they're not rewarded, and in some cases they're penalized or criticized by coaches, players are going to stop taking chances, they're going to stop taking risks, and in some respects they're probably going to stop learning.